चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बल इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
So after having prayed for all this brilliant body and mind and physiology and everything, all the senses, now you are not just for its own sake, but for doing an inquiry into this. So now the first verse of the Upanishad begins. Upanishads are always, and also including Bhagavad Gita, there are always a dialogue between a student and a teacher. Right? So every time there is a transference of knowledge, right? It's not a belief, it's not a faith. It is a transference of knowledge. It requires what? A dialogue. A dialogue where you can ask questions. It's very important because what needs to be shown is very different from what you understand. So naturally you're going to have questions. There is not going to be possible that you don't have questions. Okay? So now here, sometimes in some Upanishads they write who's the dialogue between. Right? So Vedanta Upanishad has many different dialogues. One of them is between husband and wife, Yajnavalkya and Maitri. In Kathopanishad it is between Lord Yama and the little boy, 11 years old, Nachiketa. In Mundaka Upanishad it is between father and son. So there are all different, different characters, different relationships. At any time it can evolve into student-teacher relationship. Here, the name of the student and teacher are not mentioned. So that means that is what we call it's a Guru Shishya Parampara. Whether you know the teacher's name or not is not relevant. What is important is that the flow of knowledge is passed on uninterrupted. So this is why one thing is very important. We don't take ownership to this knowledge. This is a very, very big thing. In anything, suppose you can think, suppose you think, right, that the theory of relativity, who's so-called the author? On one hand, you can say Einstein, but did he create the reality that E is equal to mc square energy? Did he make energy as matter? No. The energy was already transformable to matter. What did he do? His mind captured this reality. It was the first in the modern times to capture this reality. So that is why, and so that means if you look at it from a Vedic standpoint, knowledge is never created, things already are, and we only remove our ignorance. The person who first removes the ignorance is called a Rishi. Rishi is the first one because of the preparation. How many years did it take of very deep engagement before the mind of Einstein could reach that reality? Years of dedication. And behind him was work of so many scientists, the classical physics and all. He was trained very well. And then his mind was able to go one step further. So that means, who is the owner? There is no real owner. So exactly, we trace it back to Ishvara. Any knowledge, whether it is physics or biology, so suppose somebody is doing research on your body, retina. The retina is already arranged. Ask all these doctors. The body is already there. What you are trying to discover is what? Orders and orders within orders within orders, which gives you capacity to intelligently intervene. But you need to study the order. So that means human beings, we don't create knowledge. Knowledge is rested on what we call Sarvagnaha Sarvashaktiman Ishvara. That's why there is no sense of ownership. That's why there is no pride, there is no arrogance. Right? So that means then the human beings remove the veils, and then once you remove the veils, you come to know that fact and then you pass it on. So therefore, in this case, since there are no owners, therefore you can have a dialogue with names or without names. It doesn't matter. Right? So now this inquiry is, you don't know who are who, but the student is asking this question. The question is, Om Kena Ishitam Padati Reshitam Manaha Kena Pranaha Prathamaha Praiti Yuktaha Kena Ishitam Vacham Imam Padanti Chakshu Shodna Kau Devaha Vinati. Basically, the question is exactly the same. Here he says that will by whom? Right? My mind falls on a given object. So that means the mind is right now thinking of something. Stefan's mind is thinking of something. We are all sitting in the same class, but each one's mind has its own flow, has its own way of understanding. So what impels the mind to dwell on what it is dwelling on? So that is the question. Then he says, Kenaha pranaha prathamaha praiti yuktaha. Impelled or desired by whom or in whose presence this prana, all these functions are working. The external air and its capacity to make your body alive, and while it is making it alive, your digestive, your circulatory functions, your evacuation functions, your senses come into life, your sense organs of action come into being. So the who, impelled by what the prana is doing its job, not only for me, but for everybody else. Kena ishitam vacham imam vadanti. So that means we all have faculty of speech, but we all use it differently. Right? So that means what impels us to use our faculties differently, not and chakshu shotna kaha devo uniti. Okay? What unites the eyes with ears, with all the other sense organs and the mind, and everything is working in harmony. So this is why I liked Swamini's question where she says, well, if everything is law, where is the role for prayer? Because the laws are not, what we see laws are not just mechanical laws. We see that they are manifestation of Krishna. So that means there is an intelligence. Then one of the manifestation of that intelligence is the laws. It's not that the laws govern everything. So this is what the question is. So that means generally when we live our life, what we do is we immediately start using our ears to hear the sound. We start using our eyes to see the forms. We start using our mind for perception and inference. So that means, but very seldom we sit and ask one more question. And what is that question? What makes the ears hear? What makes the eyes see? What makes the mind to do its job? All these four functions I have told you about, right? They are not some hard and fast functions. They are just a way of looking at the mind and what are the different possibilities and different modes of operating. What makes it possible? That kind of a question, suppose, even if you have lots of time, what happens is, as a kid, you ask your mom, Mom, how is this sun, what it is? And the mom has no clue. So mom has no clue. So the mom says, shut up. Don't ask these questions. So the mom doesn't say, hey, sorry, I didn't think about it. Let me your father. So go to your father, and the father will also like, okay, maybe sit tell some story, who knows. So that means, what happens is, even if you had those questions as a child, nobody could answer them, and nobody even encouraged you to ask. So what happens is, over a period of time, we live with these questions unanswered, but they don't even actually surface in our minds anymore. So they stay in some corner, unaddressed, looked after, and because we are not encouraged to actually search for these answers, because we think that they are unanswerable. Now, in this Upanishad, we are trying, right, to, the Upanishads are answering those questions which are otherwise unanswerable. Why are they unanswerable? Because if you just use your normal means of knowledge, they are unanswerable. The eyes cannot figure out, please see, look at this, it's very important. The eyes can only see the forms, it cannot figure out what makes it see. The nose can only pick up the smell, it cannot figure out what makes it smell. The touch, the sense of touch, can figure out all the different sensations of pleasures and of pain, everything. You can be very fine in what explaining to you, explaining how it feels at the level of touch, but you don't know what makes that function happen. So that means the senses in themselves, they are like organs, and they have their own areas of reporting. Exactly, right? So they engage in their areas of reporting, but they are incapable of giving you the answer, which is what makes them do the job that they do. Now, you may think, oh, maybe they themselves cannot answer, the mind can answer that question. What does normally the mind do? Whatever the senses report, based on that, it gives some further, it just reports, it makes you understand what the senses are reporting, and at times, through inference, it makes you understand little bit better things which you otherwise cannot see outside. But it still cannot answer what makes these the organs function and what makes the mind function. That is something that you cannot answer. So therefore, now there are two words here, very beautiful. One is what we call Ishitam and the other one is Preshitam. Ishitam is will by whom, suppose, like in whose presence. And Preshitam is what? The Preshitam is prompted by what? So what is the nuance? What is the difference between will and prompted or whatever? So that means, now, the person is trying to ask a very subtle thing, right? The person is trying to ask whether there is a person who is involved, a being which is involved, who is willing us to do what we are doing, or there is one presence which doesn't have a will of its own, which makes everything possible. Do you understand? Do you understand the difference? Can you repeat it?
It doesn't have a will of its own?
Yeah. Yeah. So that means the minute if you, one is the presence, which in whose presence all this takes place. Without this presence, nothing can take place. The other one is this presence, does it have a will of its own? What does it mean? It does the direction. What is the direction? What is that? What the VO should today have a good time, right? So that is what we call a will, right? So that means that will and that presupposes what? Mind. Excellent. So that means a lot of, please understand, this is very, very important. That which is the truth of everything itself is a big total mind, or is it something which is itself free from being the mind, and it makes every mind what it is? You understand? These are subtle things. What? In one, you are assuming a total mind with its functions. In the other case, what are you saying? There is a presence which itself is not free from being a mind, but in whose presence every mind becomes what exactly? What it is.
That is Prashitam.
So,
Second one.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So now, this is the question. This is a very intelligent question. First, what is behind? And second is, what is the nature of something which is behind? So, now, the teacher has to answer this question. Now, in the answer, what you need to understand is that there are different levels. So now, the first level of answer is the final reality that Upanishads are talking about. Okay? So we will see the nature of the answer.
Madam, please once more Ishitam and Prashitam.
Okay, somebody else, you want to try?
Isitam is this, what is not by itself the mind, but by which the mind is functioning.
Okay.
And Prasiddham is that there is something, a total mind, which gives drive that my mind is functioning.
Wonderful. Did you understand what Val is talking about? Let me draw an image, because that may understand that. Okay? So that means, very good, Val. One thing is, okay, now this is, imagine this is your ear, this is your eye, this is your mind. Okay, now let's look at all these five senses which are here, and then there is a central processing unit which is the mind, right? So generally what we do is, this reports the objects within its own sphere. Ears reports different kinds of sound. Eyes report different kind of forms, then the taste, different kinds of taste, then different kind of touch and different kind of smells. So when we engage in the world, we pick up all of this and everything is reported to the mind, and the mind kind of processes it and then responds back, sends a response back. Now the nature of the question is totally not within this scope. Somebody is asking, what makes this function the way it does? What makes this function the way it does? What makes this function it does? What makes this, and what makes the mind what it is? Do you understand that the nature of the question is, by definition, something which is opposed to what we normally do? Okay? Now, and now, suppose you are asking about this entity, then there are two possibilities about this entity. What are the two possibilities? Ishitam and Ishitam. So that means, what is it? One is there a presence? That is the first question. Is there a presence which makes these things what they are? Is there a presence that I don't see, which I cannot see? Right? So what is the presence? That is the first. Is there something in whose presence all these functions are taking place? Not only for me, but for everybody else. Okay? Now, that is the first question. What is the second question? If you tell me that there is a presence, then the next question for me, logically, is what is the nature of that presence, right? So what is the nature? What are the two possibilities? Just by its own presence, it is making everything, or there is, as Carl is saying, a total mind, which is a much bigger mind, which is making us all do things in a way which is not within our control. Do you understand? So that means, does this presence have a mind and a will to guide each one's action? Does this presence have what? A total kind of a mind, because it's not just one mind, it is a total mind. Is there a total mind which has the will to make each one of us individually do what we do? Right? Are you clear? If you're not clear, don't worry. We'll see. Okay? So what is the nature of that presence? Okay, so here. Don't worry. Very easy. What is, okay, don't worry. The answer we will see. Now, the answer has to be there. The answers are at several levels, because this is a tough question. So therefore, let's look at the answer. Interesting answer, a very interesting answer. It says, Shotrasya Shotram Manaso Mano Yat Vachaha Cha Vacham Sau Pranasya Pranaha Chakshushash Chakshuhu Iti Amuchya Viraha Pretya Asman Lokat Amrutaha Bhavanti. The first verse is a bomb. It just gives the entire vision of Vedanta. And it also tells you what is the result when you know this reality. So therefore, there is a method. It's a very interesting method through which we are given this answer. It says, there is an answer that is given which says, yes, there is one, Shotrasya Shotra. There is a ear, and then there is a, what? Literally speaking, what it means, there is a ear of ear, which makes the ear function. Now, if you use your mind, you'll imagine what? One little subtle ear, which is making your big ear do what it is doing, right? So this is how you can think, the manaso mana. So that means there is one mind which is behind your mind, which is making your mind do what it is. Vachoho vachaha. That there is a kind of a speech which is making your speech what it is. And pranasya pranaha. There is one which is the prana of your prana, which is making your prana function.
Why in simple language, brain is hearing, no?
Yeah.
So brain is ear of ear.
Yeah. So this is why, see, as I told you, that if brain was your reality, you don't need Vedanta. And so that means, what Vedanta is trying to point out that beyond these four functions of the mind, as I told you, everything goes into your brain, and your brain has four types of functions. What are the functions? Emoting function, cognitive function, memory function, and your eye sense function. So that generally our eye is restricted to that. This whole inquiry is about, is there any entity which is even more fundamental than that? You see what I mean? Because otherwise you don't need Vedanta, right? If the conclusion is the brain is making all this function, then you don't need Vedanta.
In fact, you can add in the text of the Upanishad, what is it that makes the brain being able to do this to the mind and the sense?
Manaso manaha, that manas includes all the functions, right? What makes all the functions make, what programs all these functions, in whose presence these functions take place. Okay? Now, generally, so now, what you need to know is, what is the nature of that presence. So, according to the Upanishads, that presence is what we call memory. Now, we need to understand how. So, what we need to understand is there is a methodology. This is an interesting methodology because it shows you things which are very important. Now, the year of years, so there is not one little year. What it is talking about is one presence. So, these, what we call the sounds, are asadharana. What asadharana means? The sounds that the ears report are constantly changing. Right? So that means now you go out a little bit, it will be roar of Ganga, then the dogs will bark, then some arti of temple will ring. So that means constantly what your ears report are so many different sounds in one day. How many different sounds, even in this class, how many sounds are produced? Thousands of sounds are produced, right? Now, there is one presence, the presence of awareness, because of which all the different sounds are heard. Okay? Now, when the eyes, they report so much data. So that's why when you come to, especially some of you who never come to India, all of a sudden your visual is exposed to so many sights that you have never seen before, right? So you can see cows on the road, and then you can have dog, and then you can have all kinds of people walking, and then whatever which you are not used to. So that means the eyes not only report one form or simultaneously so many different forms. The forms that are reported are asadharana. They keep changing. But there is an awareness without which none of the sounds can be, none of the forms can be seen. Okay. Then the same thing for taste, touch and smells. So that means this awareness, here behind this there is an awareness, behind this function there is awareness, behind this function there is awareness, without whose presence none of the functions are possible. That awareness, in Sanskrit we call it Chit. You know the Satchidananda Brahma. So that is the Chit, the presence that we are talking about. So therefore, there is this awareness without which all these different sounds cannot be heard, without which none of the taste, touch and smell functions can exist. Now, as Mridalini is saying, but all of them, they themselves work through the mind, right? They work through the brain. So that means the brain, which itself picks up all of this and has these four functions that we talked about. So as Surya is saying, now the question is, what is making the brain and its functions what they are? So that means, now I am emoting. Now I am having a self-image. Right? Then I am sitting in the class, now I am listening, but I am also comparing myself to others. Oh, he spoke so well, and I'm going to be able to do it. So that means this is also what is going on. So that is what we call your emotion, your sense of, and then your cognitive skills, you're trying to understand what I'm saying, your memory, you're trying to draw from something that you had heard before, and your self-image, your picture, how you picture yourself. So all these functions, while you're operating, they are also going on. So that means not only the inputs that you receive from the senses are constantly changing, but the mind is also constantly changing, trying to make sense of what is reported, and it is creating different images. how many different images and thoughts do we create every day? How many thoughts in a day?
40,000.
Yeah, I think about
40,000.
40 or 60, or I don't know. It depends, but I think it's about 40,000-60,000 images your mind creates. Right? Now, those images also keep changing. In whose presence those changing images of the mind are also known? What? Say awareness. Right? So these images are also a sadhana. What it means that this is changing, this is changing, this is changing, this is changing, this is changing. The mind and its images are changing. There is only one common presence which enables everything. For the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the sense of touch to touch, the sense of smell to operate. So that presence, which is awareness, itself is different. Is it different? No. It is what we call sadhana. It is something which is non-changing. Itself doesn't change. In whose presence everything gets repeated. So this awareness, please understand. Suppose you hear the sound, and in this awareness, the character of this awareness changes and the sound sticks to it. What will happen? What will happen to it?
There are sounds that the whole world is going to be contaminated by that sound.
So that means next time when you see the form, the sound is sticking to it. Next time you will see a smell, then what will happen? The sound and the smell and everything gets mixed up. Is that how our experience is? So that means there is one common presence without getting involved in any of the actions. It enables us to what? To operate all the senses, including what? With the mind. You have a question?
You answered it already. I wanted to ask if there's no different awarenesses
Yes.
involved in
Okay.
the mind and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Okay. Wonderful. Suppose this here is a different awareness, and this what makes us see is a different awareness. Then what will happen? Within us there will be what? So many multiple awarenesses, right? So that means what we see is the character or the differences belong here. If here there is a difference, what will happen is this is of a certain type or a certain attribute. It cannot hear all the different sounds that are produced. Itself has to be free in order to capture all the different sounds. It cannot have any characteristic. Do you understand? Yes.
So everything actually stands in awareness or happens in awareness. So one thing I don't understand, if you draw awareness like a small circle there and there, it must be a big circle around everything.
Excellent.
Yes.
So that is what we call, this is what we call methodology. Methodology means I have to take you from here to what you are saying. Because I can't stop here. You understand that? Good. Your mind itself, because of this imagery, it moved to the next image that I'm going to create by making you see the nature of that awareness.
I couldn't understand this example because I couldn't understand the small circles of
Yes,
awareness.
exactly. So that means...
Sorry, it's a stupid question.
Wonderful. So that means I first need to, the answer that is given is what? There is a shotrasya shotram. I have to go with the text. So what is it? Shotrasya shotram. What is the answer? There is one presence which enables what? You to hear
Yeah.
all the sounds that the ears
perceives.
can capture. So the sounds are different. The awareness is, does it have any particular sound as its intrinsic nature? Can it? No. Itself has to be free from all the sounds in order to capture all the different sounds. Do you understand that? It cannot have one given attribute. Okay? Now the I also, in order for that awareness to see so many different forms, itself has to be free from forms. Just one example that Adi Shankaracharya gives, and that is, suppose you see something and it gets back to your awareness. What will happen? So there is in Taittiriya Bhashya, he gives an example. He says, suppose I tell you, think of a cow. What will happen? You'll think of a cow, right? Now, suppose that is what is happening. The eyes are visualizing a cow, right? Whether there is an external cow or not, they are visualizing. If this awareness begins to take the cow form, what will happen? Suppose I tell you next, you see the horse. What will happen? Cow is stuck, and then horse is superimposed. Then if I ask you to think of a flower, what will happen? The cow, the horse, and the flower. So the very fact that you are able to completely give up cow and replace it completely with horse, and horse you can completely give up and replace it with flower, what it shows is that awareness which enables you to see the cow, the horse, and the flower itself doesn't take on the attributes of what it sees.
The image which is being formed in the mind, so just correct me if I'm wrong, is like a screen where everything is being projected and that itself, the screen is not being affected?
Yeah.
Something, this is what is coming to the mind.
Okay, and I will need to, yes, it's very good, excellent. So that means your mind is moving in the right direction. I have
This presence is awareness.
Yeah, I need to refine it further
Right.
a lot more, but it's totally right. What you are saying is right. Very good, excellent. But I will refine it further. Wonderful. But it's moving along with where I wanted to go. Very good, very good. Okay. So that means so this itself is all, so there is, please don't imagine that there are some bubbles which are individual. There is one eye of eye, one ear of ear, there is one mind of mind which is making everything do. What we are talking about is one presence without which neither the mind operates, nor the ears operate, nor the nose operates, nor the eyes operate, nor the sense of smell, nor the sense of touch, without which none of them can operate, but itself is free from all the functions that each organs have. You understand? Itself. So now, what you need to understand is that these are not little bubbles. There is only one awareness, which is you, which is able to see all these different functions. So what is the adhyasa? Now you come back to adhyasa. Where is our identity? Where do we put our self-identity? In the functions, in the mind. You say, I'm blind, I can see well. So what happens is, our eye is placed where? Here. And what we miss is what? The presence of that awareness, without which none of these functions can operate, and these functions are constantly changing. Okay?
Ma'am, awareness without eyes cannot see.
Okay, so that's correct. That without awareness exists without eyes. Eyes depend upon awareness for it to do its job. You're right. The different instruments have different scope. That's why you're given the eyes, because without eyes you can't see. You're right. But the eyes themselves cannot see without the presence of awareness. Now, what it leads to, suppose we do this inquiry, and you tell yourself, I am this awareness, right? And I tell myself, I am that awareness, and Vimal tells herself, I am the awareness. So that means, how many, the next question is, how many awarenesses are there? Now all of you know the reality. You know the answer, but you have to, in order to convince me that you really understand, you have to give me the right reasons for it. Then I'll be convinced.
If I see this as a red color,
Yeah.
okay, even you see this as red color and all others are same. So possibly, maybe that.
Okay, she has an interesting way of saying this. Okay, that's an interesting answer. Anybody else?
I feel like from childhood to now, our body keeps growing,
Yeah.
everything changes.
Sure.
So who is it that is
Yeah.
watching all this?
Sure.
And knowing that I'm the same, that me being there and now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true for yourself. But now, it's correct. For you, you can say, okay, there is this awareness, and I do the same, right, for myself. I said, oh, my eyes are functioning, it's seeing so many different objects. My mind is also changing, it's creating so many images. But there is this awareness without which none of these functions can take place. And behind every function, there is awareness. Please don't think it's only behind the mind. It's behind every activity of every function, right? So that means, now, the next question is, now how do you know that that awareness, which is you, which is free from your body and mind, and is the same awareness that is my awareness, which is free from my body and my mind?
You spoke about limitless some time ago.
Yes.
And that's what I've been thinking of, that if there is anything other, then that is a limit to the
Existence. Right. So, wonderful. So that means what Sajini is doing is, she's using the Shastra, and she's saying that if Shastra is talking about this Brahman, which is limitless, and if that limitless Brahman, which we don't see, is this awareness, that awareness has to be only one. That's a very clever way of arriving at it. It's wonderful, because that goes very well with what we saw, that here we are talking about a presence which is not available for the senses, which is not an object of the mind, but it is something which is the nature of I. So what she's saying is, if that nature of I is revealed to be limitless Brahman, the only way that awareness can be Brahman is if it is common to us all. That's a kind of a logic which is called a logic that you use to show how Shastra is right, what Vedas are talking about is right. This is a wonderful logic, but suppose somebody doesn't agree with you, they don't say, oh, why should I believe that Shastra is saying something right? Then what will you do? You will have people who will agree to Shastra and they will say, oh, this is an ingenious way of figuring it out. But then there are other people who say, why should I believe Shastra in the first place?
I think what I remember from the retreat in Belize, it was the attributeless aspect.
Can you explain?
Yes, because for two objects, two things to be different, they would have to have different attributes that you can compare. And since this is attributeless, as we established, you only need one because it's attributeless. You can only have one. You cannot compare it to anything else.
Very good, Christoph. So, and did you understand what Christoph is saying? Okay.
Doesn't he use? You're still using the Shastra.
Yes. No, he's not using the Shastra. Why am I not using Shastra? Tell me. Because this is established through logic how awareness doesn't take on the attributes of what it sees and what the mind goes through. Right? See, I showed you that if, suppose, when I smell some fragrance, right? If my awareness becomes that fragrance, I will not be able to smell another fragrance. So in order for me to smell so many different kinds of fragrance, the awareness has to be free from the different fragrance. So that is logic, right? So now, what I have shown you is that that awareness by definition itself cannot be only confined to this, neither confined to this, nor confined to this. Itself is making each of them work, and also the mind work, and itself is free from all the different changes that are taking place, which have specific characteristics. And because it is changed, then it is what he calls attribute free. You understand? So that is not just telling what Shastra is saying. Right?
If awareness stucks up with some one thing like ear, or then it cannot perceive the other.
Wow. Wonderful. So that means if it gets stuck with one thing, it cannot do the other job. The very fact that it can do not only hearing, but within hearing, all the different sounds. Within seeing, all the different forms. Within taste, all the different taste. Within what touch, all the different touch. What it means itself has to be free from it. Because if it becomes one, it can become the other. You understand? So that means that by definition frees awareness from any attributes. So suppose, very good. So now let's do one thing. One person has come to this presence, what we call the common presence, and without which none of the functions of the sense organs as well as the mind can operate. And that awareness is something which, as Christoph is saying, it is free from all the attributes. Now you take the other person, and we will come to what Swamini was saying. It will become from small circle, the awareness will become what? One limitless reality, right? So we need to go step by step. We can't just start talking about that limitless, otherwise it will not make sense, right? So now, suppose somebody else has done. So now, what has happened is, that person has also come to the conclusion that there is this awareness which enables that person to do their different forms, or the different engagement. Now, what Savita is saying is, she used this example, and that is what I see it as red, the other person also sees it as red, therefore the awareness is one. Do you agree with this logic?
No.
Very good. Who said no? Okay, wonderful. Oh, so many. Okay, Savita.
I'm from the textile, I know. Somebody sees red, somebody sees something else also.
Yeah.
So
Right. And right now, suppose when you see here, you may see red, but your attention could be there and you could be seeing blue, right? So,
and it's the definition of red. What is red? You have to clear before we were speaking about colors.
yes, exactly. But what is so therefore, then what is the right logic tell you?
Has to be something common. Has to be common.
Okay, so this is exactly, there is a common. Why? Because you
No,
extend the same logic.
But that treatment is not valid. Okay? What we have in common is that we have blood cells. Okay? It doesn't establish that blood cells is one only. We can have something in common, but still there are differences and there are several and many.
Common understanding.
Yeah,
Not the object but the common concept.
But awareness is beyond that also.
No. Okay. So we are not talking about. See, this is you can't have something beyond limitless. So what we are trying to understand is there is one presence which has no limitation. Right? So what we are trying to do is now let's imagine the other person. So right now let's use Savita's example. Right? So she's saying the eyes are seeing this form, and this form is a shawl and it's red. Right? But right now somebody is sitting in America And the vision of that person, the redness of that shawl is nowhere in the sight. He's seeing maybe a mountain. Do you understand that? So that means that each one's, even right now, right? Each one's eyes are looking. Somebody may be looking at my sari, somebody may be looking at somebody else. So the eyes are reporting different data even now, sitting in one room.
Also colorblind.
Exactly, somebody. So that means what we need to understand is, just as, please understand, here, 1 year hears so many different things, right? 1 year hears so many different things. Different ears in this room could be, or outside, could be hearing different things. The awareness doesn't take on the attribute of any of the things which are heard. So what you hear could be, I could be hearing to classical music, you could be hearing right now to rock music. It doesn't matter. The awareness itself enables me to hear classical music, you to hear rock music. Itself doesn't get involved or affected by anything. Do you understand? Without which neither I can hear classical music, nor you can hear pop music. You understand? So that means, sorry?
Why? But we could still have two awarenesses. You have yours and one, even without attributes, okay, but still two could be.
No, because see, the one thing is this awareness. So if I were to make the, okay, now that you need to understand one more thing. If I were to make a statement that my awareness is different from your awareness, I have to. The only way we can establish difference, please understand, it's not like just, oh, I think it's two, right? You can establish a difference is by giving different attributes. There is no other way, right? So that means if you say, this is different, you can say your body is different from my body. I'll ask, why? Because you say, I am this tall, I have this skin. So that means certain attributes are distinguishing factors, which then you can say. So here, please understand, you're using Vedanta as a pramana. What does it mean? That Vedanta reveals that Atma is Brahman. Now, if you want to disprove what Vedanta is saying, you have to give me a logic which establishes what? Two awarenesses. And the only way you can give me a logic which establishes two awarenesses is by showing me the distinguishing attributes. There is no other way. So that means just by observation, we are not arriving at the presence of awareness. The presence of awareness is pointed out by Vedanta. You understand? And that awareness is already there. It's already doing all these jobs for you. But what is your problem? There is an adhyasa that you miss out, and your eye is
the sense of eye.
Sorry?
The sense of eye.
Eye is all here in these functions.
Have you given us an example of different clay pots?
Yes. Yes. To demonstrate that. Okay. So now that is nice. But in that also, see, every example that you give, there are always going to be some limitations. But that's a good example. So suppose you see that there is this table here, and then there is a table there, and then there is a stage here. So therefore, if your eyes are on the forms, then how many different things that you see? You see three things, right? But suppose I point out to you that there is only one thing. You will say, what are you talking? Are you crazy or what? I say there is wood. Then am I wrong?
No.
No. Why am I not wrong?
Because the table is made of wood.
Exactly. So that means there is no existence of table without the presence of wood. And there is no existence of that table without the existence of wood. There is no existence of that form which looks like a platform without the wood. Now, wood itself, does it have an intrinsic characteristic of this height, this length, and this width? No. No, it is free. Pervading it, it's free from it. So therefore, this is something which is a very important thing. You can't establish that there are, of course, if you use the example, you can always see, in empirical example, there is always going to be a problem. Why? Because I can say, yeah, but I can still distinguish one is a teak wood and the other one is rosewood, obviously, right? Because there are two different trees, obviously. But in what the point of this example is when there is one, there is only one. There is no second in the first place.
Commonness.
Yeah. So that means now what that means is that this awareness is what I will come to the second stage where probably you will understand it a little better, right? So now what we have come to know is that there is one common awareness because of which my eyes operate, my ears operate, my senses operate, my mind operates, and your senses, which are different from mine, they operate. Your mind operates. The mind of a fish operates. The sense organs of fish operate. Not only, please don't confine it to human beings. Insects, reptiles, every sense organ by itself cannot report. So, sorry, yeah.
Yes, one more question.
Yes.
Even if I would not have come about Vedanta,
yes,
I could say I know I'm aware,
yes,
and I can prove with this logic that there can only be one awareness. Where does, well, this is the one thing where I could think you don't need Vedanta to understand this.
No, because see, the thing is, why you don't need Vedanta is because the relationship of this awareness. Suppose you, as far as this is concerned, you can probably come only to this, that there is one awareness in which many different bodies are there. But what is its relationship to Ishvara? You see what I mean?
That's something else.
So
I know, but science rejects this also, this logic. It's not accepted by science.
It is not, because science is it's not accepted by science. Why? You know, because the whole of science is based on empirical evidence. And here, we are talking about observation. And observation, by definition, is about objects.
Yes, but I can say I'm aware. A scientific person will not say I'm not aware.
Yeah.
Then you say you're aware, I'm aware. So is this awareness different? Then we use this logic and we say no, it's the same because it has no attributes.
Yeah, but they don't use it. Why? Because for them the awareness is what we call they call epiphenomena. What it means is that it is within the mind.
It's a function of the mind.
You were telling awareness of fish, we. Next what?
For scientific.
Next what means you didn't finish the sentence. I was waiting that awareness of me, her, him, or is there anything common in that?
Yeah. So that means there is what we call. So now what we come to is there is one awareness, right? And then that awareness enables what all the different people and entities to operate their sense organs, their mind and everything. So now let's look at one analogy, and that the Vedas use. They say, suppose there is one light and then there is a pot, and the pot has many different holes. So when you look from outside, it seems as though there are how many lights?
How many holes are there?
There are many lights, and it seems of different shapes and all, but in reality there is only one light, but when it comes out through different apertures, what will happen? They all look of different sizes, different shapes, different characteristics, but in effect the light is one. Now, the second thing that you need to understand is the mental image that we may create now is there is one awareness which is uninvolved, right? Which makes all of us to what? Operate our senses, operate our minds. So we are all entities here. The bodies and minds are here, and awareness is behind it all, making it all do what it is doing. Is it true? No. Why not? Excellent. Right? So that means, again, you will make, and that too will be huge. Why? Because on one hand, there is this one awareness. On the other hand, there are how many bodies? Billions. Do you understand? Billions of bodies, billions of minds, billions of things. So if they are all separate and awareness is just kind of there, making them all do what they are doing, this awareness doesn't become limitless. Do you understand? Do you understand? So that means in order for anything to be limitless, it has to be one. So then, my God, I'm in trouble now. Because first I said there is one awareness which makes the years to do what, and how many years are there if you count all the entities in the world? Not only human beings, but all little insects and everything, how many years are there?
Limitless.
And if they are all distinct from this awareness, does this awareness become still very small? So please don't create a picture of awareness as something which is distinct from everything else, because that will get you into trouble. So this is where we say that the words are brilliant. Shotrasya Shotra. What it means is that please don't create physical distance between the ears and awareness. So there is a relationship which is a very important relationship, and that is what we call Satya Mithya relationship, without which there is no limitlessness. So what it means is that the forms, no matter which form it is, itself is not totally independent of awareness, but awareness is independent of form. That is, what is mithya? Mithya does not mean false. Mithya does not mean it is something which is not real. What it means is it has a dependent reality. So what we have to do is, first step is, look how Upanishads do. With your own body, you separate awareness from your sense organs and your mind. Then, what is the second step? You say that awareness, which is my awareness, which is separate from the body and mind, is also the awareness which is enabling you to see your own sense organs and your mind. So that means then you have taken away the individuality from the awareness and you have expanded it to everywhere. The third step is, now all the bodies and all the minds that are all left out from awareness, they have to be reclaimed. They have to be reclaimed. Because if they are not reclaimed, then what will happen? Awareness will become one thing and everything else will become other things. It doesn't work like that. It will again become an object, and if it is an object, you should be able to see it. So that means that then you need to reclaim what you have said to be, not you, as what? Then your understanding is complete. So that means, now let's look at the relationship between the mind and awareness. What is mind? Mind is nothing but series of thoughts, correct? Now, the thoughts are changing, correct? Each thought, suppose I'm thinking of cow, right now, what is the one form is that of a cow, because it's a cow thought. What is the content of that thought? Thought, cow, which is a form. Awareness. So that means the relationship, wonderful. The relationship between awareness and a thought is like the form, and awareness is the substance, the content. This is why you cannot imagine an awareness which is outside the mind. If you are trying to separate awareness from the mind, you will get nowhere. Why? Because you are making awareness an object which is away from the mind.
And then you will see it, I guess.
Huh?
And then you will
That
see it or
means,
experience it.
Like the stand is right.
so that means that then the time will separate, the space will separate awareness from the body and mind. So that means the relationship is, while the thought cow cannot exist without awareness, awareness is independent of a cow thought. That's why it can take yet another form, and what is the other form? Horse, without becoming horse. So that means there is no physical distance between Satyam and Mithya. Suppose I tell this table, right, that actually you are nothing but wood. And suppose it imagines, oh, if I'm wood, then let me take, this is the wood and this is the table. Is this how you understand? Is this how you understand? No. Where there is table, that's exactly where there is wood. Right? While the table cannot exist without wood, the wood is totally independent of being the table. So if you create some kind of an image in your mind about one awareness which is like observing everything that is going on, all the bodies and all mind, and then again you go, whoop. So that means that there is only one presence. What it means is there is no second thing. Everything. So if I'm thinking about very good thoughts, suppose I'm thinking about I'm a saintly person, I want to help, I'm compassionate. That's a good quality of thought. And somebody is a criminal and he is thinking about harming somebody. So that means the quality of minds are very different. But is the awareness different? Without that awareness, neither a saint can have a saintly thought, nor the thief can have a kind of a scheming thought. But the awareness itself, does it become a thief or a saint?
No.
No. It is free from being both. And in reality, there is no second thing. Whether it is a thief, the thief who is scheming, or it is a saint who is thinking, having compassion, both of them cannot exist. The thought itself cannot exist without awareness. Whereas the awareness itself is free from the thought.
So the example before with the screen and the movie projecting is not that accurate.
Exactly. So it's a nice start in the beginning, but later on you need to refine it. Because otherwise...
Again, separation.
Then it becomes two. So it has to
Then it becomes two. Again it has to become one. So that means this is what we call the vision of oneness. You can't take out awareness from anywhere. Why? Because the entire world is Mithya. Where will you put it out and put it where?
I think the projection screen could could also be an example for the mind itself. That is not, it takes up a form and then the next form and the next form. So it's
Yeah, and
unaffected by it.
it's but
So it's not attached.
and also suppose you can use it slightly creatively, that screen. You know, because suppose that screen, suppose you go to see a Bollywood movie, right, and you see Shah Rukh Khan running around and all, but is he there? No, it's only play of lights. Play of lights, which makes you see all these images and makes you cry and make you laugh and make you do all of this. And then what is actually nothing but one awareness, without which there can be no projection. And the projection itself doesn't touch the awareness. But there is no second thing.
And the screen is not effective.
Exactly.
For example.
It's for an example, it's a good example, but as I told you, every example is going to have a limitation. That's why you need to supplement it with this knowledge. So now, okay, Surya is reminding me. There is, okay, one second.
Maybe it's a stupid question, but just I want to know, could you say that in some objects there could be more awareness?
No. So, where is more and less? Tell me, where is more and less? The mind. Minds can be very evolved. The minds may not be very evolved. That means that whenever you give an attribute, those attributes belong to where? Vidya world.
Ma'am, one stupid question again.
No, please don't qualify your question as stupid. Everything is wonderful.
Is my awareness is connected to her awareness?
So, see, connection means that yours is one and other one and then they are connected. What we are saying is, all that is here is one awareness. So it's not connection, it's only one. There is no second thing in this world.
No, but then if you are seeing banana, I can't see it with my eyes.
Yeah, so that's exactly
And you
what
are,
I'm saying.
I
See,
should perceive.
your eye is engaged in what? My eye is engaged in seeing Savita's sari, her shawl, and your eye is engaged in seeing a banana. That nobody is denying. That nobody is denying. What is that? That is what we call, and there is a plurality. We are not trying to negate plurality. We are not trying to not experience a plurality. What we are trying to see is your eye is engaged in the sari and the other eye is engaged in banana. What is that which makes your eye see the banana and somebody's eye to see a sari? We are talking about that. Do you understand? Without which neither you can see banana nor she can see the sari. Is it clear?
I have two questions.
Okay.
First thing is, can I think of function of awareness and function of air on similar lines? Air.
Okay, so use your creativity and explain to us what you mean.
No, before I forget the second question. See, now coming back to this shawl.
Yeah.
If I am seeing this as red, will every living being also see this as red and
No, because suppose there was some other person who had a totally different, there was an insect here and the eyes were configured in a different way with a different range, right? Their capacity, they'll see maybe something different.
Okay, so awareness will help me to see this particular thing.
And we'll see that insect to see what is this, which may not at all be the shawl, but with a different range, it can see something else. But that is a difference in the program of the eyes.
Okay.
Do you understand? Which enables it to capture different frequencies, different range.
But the function of seeing is because of the awareness.
Exactly. So without which neither the insect can see some strange object which you see somewhere, you see a shawl, that cannot take place. You see? So they are not trying to have the same perception. Please understand. It's not like everybody's eyes are going to be perceiving the same thing and everybody's mind. Why they are engaged in different, even your own mind is engaged in so many different activities. Somebody else's mind can be engaged in something totally different, right? But there is one presence which enables all of these different functions to take place without itself getting affected by it. And whatever that those functions are which belong to the forms, they themselves are mithya. They are mithya means if you really look into them, they are actually forms within forms within forms. So that means the form, as I told you, that the relationship between a thought and awareness is like there is no one which is awareness and here is a thought. Where there is thought, that's exactly where there is awareness. But pervading the thought, the awareness is free from the what that thought is. Do you understand that? Please don't create a distance. Yeah.
My first question.
Okay. Yeah. Second. No, because that I think air means, yeah, 1 second. I'll give you a little better example of space. But yeah.
So if I extend the wood example,
Yes.
and I'm linking it up to free will, which you started with.
Okay.
So then the wood in itself, or the awareness, doesn't have free will.
Super.
It's, and then I'm linking this to Purushartha of yesterday.
Okay, so
And
the
it's
mind has a
yeah,
super. Excellent. It's the mind which has a free will. The mind has to choose moksha. The mind has to be purified. The mind has to understand this reality which is not within the scope, but normally the mind operates. Do you understand?
The mind as in your ignorance.
Yeah.
And it's also then the mind and the prayer which you spoke of.
Absolutely. Because even if you want to, somehow this mind is so much in a habit of seeing everything in this manner, it is not in a habit of
going to awareness.
going to see, understand something which is because of which the mind itself operates. You see, we are not used to thinking about or even reflecting on it. So this is why you need a pramana. With the help of the teacher and the scriptures, your mind is led to see this presence which is actually always there, without which there is no operation of any type. So that means it's always there, but because our attention is always here, we always keep missing it.
So in meditation you go away from the subjects and you go to the awareness.
So there are different things that we do in meditation. So as Surya will teach, that is one where you understand the reality. That particular type of meditation is called contemplation nididhyasana. But you also do other things in meditation. So Surya will explain, and also in chapter 6, meditation, what all it entails, it will come in the 6th chapter.
So is it that mind always tries to create concepts, and it's like this with the word awareness, it's beyond concepts, it's that facilitates the mind to create concepts.
Super. So this is why every time, because this mind, if it is not prepared and it hears the words of Vedanta, it creates its own concepts and it never reaches this reality. So that's why you, in day-to-day life, you need a mind which is, you need to work for a mind which is a clear mind, which is a non-projecting mind. And that mind then can see the meanings accurately. Otherwise, it will keep projecting meanings which are not true. It will keep creating concepts in its own head which is not accurate.
So it seems to me that due to the constant involvement of the mind in the world, that it's nearly impossible to ever discern awareness unless one is told about it.
Exactly.
This way.
Absolutely. See, because the thing is, even though it is self-revealing, we live with adhyasa, and there is no way where we take our
ourselves to be this body and mind, and not only we, everybody else around us also does it. So that is, and you can't see it, and the way we have known everything is through engagement of senses. So by that method, you can never arrive at that, the true nature of self-revealing light.
And even if someone may have got a taste of it, there's still a doubt, is that really it?
Exactly, absolutely. See, that's why we say that you have a taste of it, means there is some kind of an experience which is a little unusual experience, which contradicts your normal thing, but that only leaves a doubt. It doesn't prove anything by itself, because you have these millions of other experiences which report one thing. How are you going to assess what is right and what is not right?
It's time bound.
Yeah, exactly.
To respond on this one, in one of the books of Swami Dayananda, I read, for me it was a very clear example. He said to see yourself as a body, you need your eyes, but you need a mirror to see yourself completely. Yeah. He said Vedanta is like a mirror.
The words. Yeah,
I like that way of
yes.
the image. And without that mirror,
yeah,
exactly like you would never know how you look without the mirror.
Yes. The words create a mirror.
You cannot know.
You could never see your eyes, for instance.
No.
Yeah. The eyes cannot see your eyes.
No, you cannot see.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, this Satya Mithya relationship, we will a little bit go on. So, for now, yeah. So that means, for now, okay, he is done. There is So for now, just note down, Mithya is that which has a dependent reality, and Satyam is that which has independent reality. So there are no two things. What is the relationship between Satya and Mithya? There are no two things. There is only one.
Chit is different from chittam, right?
Yeah, wonderful. Chit is different from chittam. Chittam is one of the functions of the mind, which is memory. Here when we say chit, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda, it is this awareness which has no limitation. It has a totally different connotation. Very good. Sounds similar, but it's not the same.
Awareness is what? Chit.
Yeah, Sanskrit is Chit.
Chit.
Sat and Chit. Then we will see that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidam